Welcome to the Sun Today's March Roundup. Let's first take a look at some general parameters of the Sun's performance to date. Well, how is solar cycle 25 doing? It's doing actually rather well. It's exceeding both the estimate that NOAA and NASA came up with earlier and also the previous cycle, solar cycle 24. So we should be in for a much bigger cycle than last time around. Now, that's not guaranteed, but at the moment it looks very likely. Asterisk with a bar on it is the estimate I made about a year and a half ago, and that is at 165 plus or minus 30. Now that is looking going to be on the low side. In panel 2 we show the sunspot number for March. It averaged 71. That's very high. That's the highest so far this cycle. The lowest point it got to was 30. The highest point was 130. In fact, it's been above 100 for the last week. In the third panel, we show the number of new sunspot regions that emerged each month, and you can see that it's following an exponential rise curve at the moment, i.e. it's accelerating, and we had 53 new regions appear on the Sun during the month of March. In the fourth panel, we show the number of flares each day during the month. Green indicates C flares, yellow indicates M flares, and red indicates X flares. And we had 220 C flares, 14 M flares, and 1 X flare during the month. That's quite a remarkable month. It's the second highest of all the months so far, second only to December of 2021. The best way to summarize the Sun is to actually look at some movies of what was going on at various wavelengths. And we'll start with optical wavelengths to see sunspots. And so what we're going to look at here are the data from the Solar Dynamics HMI instrument. Well, sunspots are not the whole story. Sometimes it's the magnetic fields that cause the sunspots that are more interesting, and you will see that there's a lot more magnetic field there than there were sunspots in that first movie. So again, we're using the HMI instrument, but this time this is a magnetogram movie. Now we'll move a little higher in the atmosphere of the Sun and look at the low temperature corona. To do that, we're going to look at the iron 9 line at 171 angstroms. Again, we'll show the movie several times so you get a chance to see what's going on. The thing you'll be seeing here are the large magnetic loops that connect regions and sunspots. Now, the real fundamental part of the solar activity are so-called active regions. Those are the X-ray emitting regions above sunspots. And to see that, we're going to use the iron 16 line at 335 angstroms, again from the AIA instrument. Last but not least, we're going to take a look at the flares themselves, and we're going to look at the iron 18 line at 94 angstroms, again imaged by AIA. One of the most fun areas to watch are the coronal mass ejections that are blasted off the Sun quite regularly, even when there aren't flares going on. And so we'll use the SOHO LASCO C2 instrument to show you those for the month of March. So what conclusions can we draw from all of this data? March produced the most new sunspot regions of any month so far to date. It produced the most M flares. It produced the second and fourth and ninth largest flares of solar cycle 25 so far. The sunspot number is outpacing solar cycle 24 and the NASA NOAA prediction model. So it seems very likely that we're going to have a larger cycle than was thought about before. With all this activity going on, interest in grand solar minimum channels seems to be falling. I've plotted the viewership of grand solar minimum news for the last 6 months, and you can see that its numbers has fallen off quite remarkably rapidly. And it's really hard for these folks who are trying to persuade us that the sun is going to go out in the next few weeks when we're getting M flares and X flares quite regularly. They were wrong from the start, they're wrong now, and they will be wrong in the future if they carry on pushing this silly idea that we're going into a grand solar minimum. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please pass it on to those you think might benefit from watching it. So that's it for today. Please stay safe, and until next time, goodbye.